There's a study, when you're on the phone with someone, within the first second, they've already decided whether they're going to do business with you.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Academy, where contractors learn to build legacies. Today, I'm here with Derek Johnson. Derek, thanks for being with us.
Absolutely. Thanks, Mark. I appreciate you having me.
Our pleasure. So for those of you that don't know Derek, he's the owner of JVI Secret Gardens. So he is business owner, landscape business owner, and Derek, it's also ponds, right, I think?
Absolutely. We own a garden center, landscape company, and a pond company. So we're kind of full service.
Awesome. And some of you may know he's also partnered with Tom Reber, who's also a mentor within this academy. And something which I find particularly interesting, and correct me if my stats are a little off here, Derek, but you took your 2015 revenue and made that your 2018 bottom line. Is that right? There you go.
I can't believe it, but yes, it happened fast.
Okay, good. So there was probably something really transformational that happened, and I'm sure we're going to talk about some of this today. The session, the lesson that you put together for us is all about getting your prospect's budget every single time. I know people struggle with that when it comes to financials. People get a little awkward. So let's jump right into it and hand over the screen share to you.
Cool. Thank you. Appreciate that. All right. So I've been in the trades for 23 years. I started out digging holes and cutting grass, and I now own $1 million garden center, landscape, and pond company located in Nashville, Tennessee, and the company name is JVI Secret Gardens. So I think what's unique, Mark, about me is I'm still a contractor. I'm still actively in the trades, and that's been. Somebody asked me, it was months ago, like, how did you take your bottom line or your top line and turn it into your bottom line in like 4 years? And I had to think about it. Well, obviously getting around the right people, mentors, is huge. But really the key for me is I understand man hours because I've done it. I've literally, I can dig a $100 hole for a $25 plant. I understand the whole, I know how to move, I know how to do. But the key for me is I understand how other people move and work through things too. And I understand delays. I understand the logistics of a job. It's silly, like little things like how long does it take to get a skid steer from the back of a property to the front of a property? You got to time stuff like that because it could be 5 minutes each trip. And if it's an 8-hour deal to move that much soil, you got to account for that stuff. So that's what I'm good at, is looking at people, knowing how they move, knowing how the logistics move, not just how I do, but looking at a person going, okay, they move faster than I do or they don't. And I can base the man hours on that. So that's really kind of my secret sauce. And then when you tied it in with meeting the guys, and now it's kind of funny with the Contractor Sales Academy, I joined it from the beginning. And I basically just kicked in the door and made it not an option for Tom and Steve to not bring me as a partner. Truly, that's kind of how it went, because I just absorbed it and it just clicked, man. It was just like, holy smokes, I can talk with confidence now because I have word tracks to use. And when I have that confidence, because we're going to talk about money and talk about how to get a customer's budget, but I've went from becoming a partner to now I'm a black belt. We jokingly say a black belt in the ancient art of Shin Fu. And I've just obsessed over it. That's really just what has happened. So when we get to the money and budget, I hope everybody listens to this. Now, there is a lot of time that you got to put into this. And everybody says that, I've got the gift of gab. I'm a salesperson. And just, I can sell ice to an Eskimo, that whole stuff. Well, this isn't selling what we're doing. It's actually talking and listening to a client. So how do I get a prospect's budget every single time? It's listening, going through the motive, our Shin Fu process that we use. Step one is the motive. It's really just listening. I ask open-ended questions. They're giving me intel, because here's the thing. As contractors, we typically answer our phone and go, okay, let me look at my schedule. I'll be there on Tuesday. You don't have any information. You don't have anything. You're going out there for the very first time and talking to the client. And most of the time, contractors don't even listen to them. So
by default, I think that is right. And leads are coming in saying, "Hey, I'd like an estimate. I'd like someone to come by the house." They're asking for you to come by, and by default, it seems like everyone says, "Yeah, no, sure. Let me check the schedule, and I'll be there."
It's great. It's like, oh my God, somebody wants me. They want me to come. This is perfect when you rush out there, but you're not getting their budget when you do that. So in most families, I don't know about you guys, but in my family, in my current family, my own personal wife and children, talking about money is very open. But growing up around my parents and grandparents, money was taboo. You didn't talk about that stuff. It was not okay. So that carries over into, not everybody, but carries over into a lot of contractors, like, you don't talk about money. But in actuality, that's the most important part. You got to eat, you got to live, you got to do this stuff. So as I'm saying this, going through understanding Shin Fu with my mentors, building the confidence, I talk about money every single time, almost on the first phone call, but at least by the second phone call.
So Derek, just sorry to cut you off there. Shin Fu, is this something that you guys created? Is this a known thing? What's
Steve Shinholzer and Tom Reber are the original partners in the Contractor Sales Academy. I came in about 2 years later.
Mm-hmm.
So Steve Shinholzer is where the Shin comes from, Shin Fu. So in Shin Fu, it's a 5-step sales process that we use, and we train and teach basically how to handle objections and how to listen to a client. But it's evolved. When we first started, it was very 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just follow these steps, and you still can. You can do it verbatim, and it works. But Steve one day said, we got to come up with a name for this. And my foreman, Travis, was sitting in the truck with me, and I had it on speakerphone. We were talking, and Steve was like, "What are we going to call this?" And Travis just went, "Shin Fu." And I was like, "What?" What do you mean? He's like, "What do you mean?" He said, "Well, you guys are basically like deflecting objections. It's like literally you are a black belt martial artist, and they're throwing and trying to hit you with objections, and you're just deflecting and blocking them. So it's like Kung Fu. So why not just call it Shin Fu?" And that's
deep. That's deep. I like it. The lost art of Shin Fu.
Or maybe the new art, because most contractors, me included, and most people I meet, never realize that this stuff is just a basic relationship, a conversation that you're having with someone to understand what they need. And when someone feels heard, automatically they start to trust you. And that's where the bond and rapport starts. So when I'm asking a question like, "Oh, thank you so much for," okay, well, let me digress just a second. We ask for pictures. We ask them to send us pictures so that we can look at them and so we can grab a phone call. Because if you've been in the trades long enough, you can look at a bathroom and get a feel quickly off of a picture of what things might cost. You can get a feel of a picture of a deck if they ask you to tear it down. You can get a feel for that stuff. And we don't have to be spot on because it's an estimate, right? That's the first part of our process. If you run right out there, or the contracting process is to run right out, throw up all over the customer, tell them how amazing you are, and then run back to your office and get an estimate together. You can do that over the phone. And that's where we come into, as I'm looking at the pictures, and I say, so I'm a landscape guy, right? But it works for every trade. They send me a picture of a blank slate, a backyard, or they send me a picture of just these flower beds that are overgrown, or this patio that they want to do something with. And I say, tell me this. How do you use that space? Like, paint me a picture. Tell me how you use that space, or you hope to use that space. And then I shut up. It's what we call STFU. Shut the up. and listen to the client. Because when someone feels heard, they start trusting you. They're giving you all this information. So take notes. Write the stuff down. And then when they give you a little more information, you say, "Okay, I think I hear what you're saying. Let me get this right." So you entertain on the weekends. You have lots of friends come over. You do birthdays. You do anniversaries. Wow, so you have a lot of people come over. I just shut up. And then they go, "Oh, absolutely. We have people come over, and my aunt, blah, blah, blah." And they're just going. They're talking 70% of the time. I'm talking 30% of the time. Now I have a feeling for what they're doing. And there's more open-ended questions we use. But now here's where we go to get the budget every single time. I say, "Mrs. Jones, so I understand, let me get this right, because we got to go back and affirm and validate what they're saying." This is truly therapy, is what it is. It's affirming, validating, and empathizing with the client. Now I say, "Okay, if I understand what you want to do, you entertain, and you do the stuff on weekends, and you do birthdays. Is it okay if we talk about money?" I shut up. I've just asked them for permission. That is so huge. Now I've shown them respect. And they always say yes. They never say no. It's like, is it okay if I share with you, this is one of the ways to get the budget. Is it okay if I share with you some numbers of a similar project that I've done in the past? I'm asking for permission again. Of course they say yes. Oh, sure. All right. Well, in order to accommodate all the people that you're referring to at the maximum, because you say you do anniversaries, you do birthdays, and I'm looking at my notes here, you have as many as 20 people come over. Did I get that right? Yeah, Derek, you got that right. Okay, cool. And you have as little as like you and the husband on the weekends, just 2, right? Okay, cool. Well, I've done a similar project like this that cost $60,000. That was a 6 count. That was pretty painful, right? You're probably going, what just happened? What did you just do?
Did we lose connection there or what?
The reason I do that is because I want to allow them time to give me some sort of inkling to where we're going to go.
Yeah, reaction. Yeah.
I've had this happen where people have said, "Is that all?" Or, "Oh, wow,
yeah,
I can't believe that." Or, "No, that's just not in our budget." So let's just say they say, "Oh, wow, that's not in our budget at all." So I'm not going to jump on not in our budget at all. I'm going to park that one for a minute. I'll make a little note over there. So I'm going to go back to that one. And I'd say, well, that's like to accommodate, 20 people. We've done other projects that land right around $40,000. Another 6-second pause. I want to allow them the opportunity to think, because that's another thing we screw up as contractors, being the expert, is we talk over people and we never allow them time to think. So think about this. When someone asks you a question, it takes a minute to just go, what did he just say? I mean, it's not like we're just loaded with, the instant answer. It's like, right. How tall is that tree? 70 feet. Well, you got to go, let me look at that tree. I don't know, I'd say probably 50, 60 feet. Putting that pause in there allows for them to think about what's going on, give you more intel. So let's say I say 40,000, I do the 6-second count, and they go, okay, we're getting a little closer. That's not crazy. So remember the game we used to play as kids, getting warmer, getting colder, kind of. So that's where we're at. But they didn't commit to it. And I'd say, I completely understand. Or I'll use the inflection of my voice and go, getting warmer? And I'll shut up. Allowing them to say something. They might go, well, yeah, we're warmer, but I really need to be around 15,000. So boom. Now they've given me a number. Or, Mark, this is the other side of it. This will protect your time more than anything else. And that is the whole point of this. The whole point of us doing this over the phone is protect contractor time and your client or your prospect's time, because what does it take? About an hour and a half by the time you go and see someone and hang out in their space. And if they don't have money to spend with you, or if you're just too high, you just wasted your time and you wasted their time. Also, if you go over there and you don't talk about money, now you go back to your office and then you spend another hour and a half putting a takeoff together and trying to put that, only to follow back up with them. But here's the thing. How many contractors out there have went and saw someone, met with the client, spent an hour and a half and said, I'm going to get these numbers together. And then life happened. You didn't get the numbers back to them. And now you feel embarrassed. You don't even call them. Yeah. Like you just disappear because you're ashamed. No, I'm sure that's never happened to any contractors out there. It never happened to me. So then you waste your time. Now we're bringing the industry down farther. We're giving it that we're affirming that name that a lot of contractors have. So I go all over the place on this stuff, dude. I get so passionate about it. So I back up to bracketing is what I'm doing. If you just bracket numbers, you're letting a customer know what things cost. But here's the thing that I was talking about, Mark, that we want to be sure of. I want to make sure if I have a $10,000 thing that they have a budget for it. Because if I have a $10,000 thing and they only have a $2,000 budget, it's never going to work. It doesn't matter how slick I am selling ice to Eskimos. It does not matter. I can't sell you if you don't have the money to spend. So that's why this is not a sales process. If nothing else, and this is going to be one of the biggest takeaways that I want everybody to take away from this podcast, is talk about money, at least give them your minimum, so they can tell you whether they can afford you or not to protect your time. So that's one way we do it, is using bracketing. Go high, always high first, set a high anchor, pause for at least 6 seconds, hear what they say, step down to a middle bracket, and then go to your minimum of what that job will be and see where it lands.
What would you say to somebody who tries to do sort of the bracketing concept, but rather than start with a fixed number? Because I've heard these before on calls. People will say, yeah, projects like this will likely run somewhere between 40 and 60K.
Sure.
What's the downside or the disadvantage of doing something like that?
I don't think there's anything wrong with it, because you're talking about money. There's nothing wrong with that. So but what's really wrong with it? It depends on when you say that. So if you just call me, Mark, and I just answer the phone, JVI Secret Gardens, how can I help you? And you say, hey, I want to get an estimate on having my whole backyard landscaped. And I go right into, well, projects like that, land use between $40,000 and $50,000.
Mm-hmm.
There's no bond and rapport there. There's no feel. So depending on how you do it, if you do it during as you're in the motive stage and you're gathering the information, building the bond and rapport, and you step into step 2, the money, it's okay. But you got to do that. It's romance, man. It's romance. And I hate to use it, but it's foreplay. You got to hang out with the customer long enough for them to trust you. And you just got to keep your mouth shut. I'm talking a lot now, and I do live calls. So in the Contractor Sales Academy, the bridge program that I use, I teach that. I'm the sales trainer over there. I take that back. I actually don't do the live calls over there. In the Contractor Sales Academy, our mastermind group, I do live calls. I literally take my phone and I put it on speaker. I call up the client, because in Tennessee, it's only one right of permission to record a phone call. So I can record our phone call legally. Other states, check your states. If you hear me saying this, check your states first. A lot of them don't allow that. But I record a call right in front of everybody and let you guys hear me actually do a full shin fu from start to beginning. A win is a win. A loss is a win for me if they say no. I want the yes, but if they tell me no while I'm on the phone with them in my office and not wasting my time, I can pre-qualify somebody in less than 20 minutes. And that literally saves me 3 hours. So there's nothing wrong with that. Just talk about money. Just talk about money. It's all in how you do it. It's the inflection of your voice. It's the tonality. It's your vernacular. I mean, these are things, if you don't have these things, I encourage people to go to, Toastmasters, where you can actually go and learn how to speak and train and get in front of people. I mean, you got to have the ups and downs and get people excited. And I know some people that really have, they're very monotone. And it's just like, hey, how you doing? And yeah, these things. I mean, there's a study. I'm not sure where I heard it, but when you're on the phone with someone, within the first second, they've already decided whether they're going to do business with you.
Wow.
Which is, how does 1 second? So it's very important when you answer your phone, you might want to go, hey, how you doing? This is Derek with JVI Secret Gardens, instead of, it's John. It's not your buddies. Hello. Yeah.
And we hear that far too often. And I mean, it sounds like sounds like common sense, but many people are making that huge mistake.
Sure. And it's all because you're on the phone. It's just where we are today. I don't know about you guys, but I sell jobs via FaceTime now. I mean, it's not uncommon that I meet people on the phone.
Yeah, well, one of the things that I found quite interesting was just looking at your website. For anyone who's watching this, go and take a look at JVI's Secret Gardens. You'll see Derek right there setting the expectation through a video right on the actual website. So anybody who's doing, people do their research now, right? Consumers, they're educated. They're Googling, they're finding opportunities. A couple contractors locally, they're checking out reviews. They do their homework before making that initial phone call, right? And I think that's a great video. I think you touch on the four things that are going to happen, right?
That's it. It's just, I literally want them to know that we're going to have a phone call, and I'm going to ask you to send me some pictures because I want to see what you see. And then we're going to talk about money. And we're going to talk about, I'm literally trying to think of my video.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about money. We're going to talk about timelines. We're going to talk about schedules. We're going to talk about expectations.
And then we may get to your house. And that's what I found interesting. I was like, man, this guy's protecting his time by leveraging a video, setting the expectation, letting the customers know he's got a process. They're going to run through it. And it's very compelling and it's very interesting. You know, you see that, you're like, okay, this company's got a process. We're going to go through it. They've done this before. They're experienced. I like that.
People love it. And here's the other thing. And I got one more, truly the one way to get a customer's budget every single time. But before I talk about that, it's one of those things where if the customer can see you before you actually get on the phone and they do research you, they already trust you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a big deal. And once I started doing this, and I got prices on my website, please check out my website. I mean, borrow and steal, I don't care. I want you guys to succeed. I've got prices all over my website. So when you come and you look at my stuff and you want a pond installed, you're going to see my minimum to my max. Well, not really my maximum, but one is when we go custom, there's no limit. You can spend whatever you want. But I start at 4,500 and I go to 95,000. So you can find something in between there. And if not, they don't call me. So most of the people now, when they call me, they've kind of already pre-qualified themselves. I just have to build bond and rapport. They want to spend money, but they can spend money, but do they want to spend money? That's where it comes into team and experience.
Yeah. And I think the way that you go about building that rapport, it's no longer you versus them versus the customer. You're not, trying to make a sale and it's a competition and it's a fight and who's going to win. It's you're on their team and it's like, hey, you've educated yourself, you've done your research, you've called me for a reason. We've had the conversation, I've kind of pre-qualified. We've had the budget discussion. Now I'm on your team. I'm your advisor. I'm going to help you make the right choice, the right decision for your needs and stuff. And I think that just people have to see it that way, especially those that are not necessarily all that comfortable in the way that they approach these sales conversations.
It's a practice thing. I mean, we literally recorded my very first Shinfu. So in our mastermind group, we role play, and someone plays customer, someone plays contractor, and we practice this stuff so that we get really good. So if you go back 4 years and you hear my first recording done with Tom Reaver, I was awful. Just like I know, and we were talking about a landscape, so I know my trade, but it was just a mess. But we practice constantly. Now I've done thousands, and it's the progression. We had this challenge where we were going to do, it was the month of February, and we were going to do 30 role plays within the group in 28 days. And, that's not bad. 1 point something a day, right? And it's just within the group. And then right around day 15 or so, another guy, Jack Haryu, he texted me or posted in the group or something. He was like at 16. And I'm like, damn, I'm at 14. So it's like, okay, I start picking up the phone. I call a few people. And now there's a competition. He's posting. Now we're day 17, 18. We've already done 30. And then now we're doing 40. And it's just like we're going. It's like, all right, I'm going to do 100. I'm going to get it. And like I'm calling everybody in the group. And it's just this big competition. Now people in the group won't even answer my phone because they know I'm calling to them. So I grab my wife's phone and I'm calling and they'll answer. And it's like, gotcha. All right, let's do a role play. And it's like, damn, where are you calling from? I would call from my office. Like I was literally borrowing my buddy's phones because now we're somewhere around 50. And that's when it shifted for me. After doing 50 role plays, all of a sudden, in the movie The Matrix, like when Keanu Reeves, like he leans back and the bullets kind of fly beside him, it's like things slowed down for me. It was like I was in The Matrix because I'm hearing the person start to say, I got to think about it. And I'm already ready for it. It's like, oh, cool. Well, why don't we think about it together? So now they can't get out of it. Well, okay, let's think about it together. And so we've developed all these word tracks. So now we're at 50 and we're down to the gun. We're 27 days. It's literally 11 o'clock at night and it's almost midnight. I called the only guy that I know that's going to answer. He doesn't answer. And I'm like, damn it, I'm at 96. And he finally answers. I'm within minutes of midnight. And he says, I just got off the phone with Jack. I was his 97. So I didn't beat him. I tied him technically at 97, but it was a fun competition. But through that, and what I'm trying to say here, how to get a customer's budget every time is do the things I'm saying. But you got to practice this stuff. You got to come off believable. You got to come off with confidence. And now I do these in front of, just yesterday, I asked a client because I went to pick up a deposit check if it was okay if I videoed them through the whole process. So now I'm doing a video of me going through the whole customer's process, even to the point where he hands me the deposit check. And I slide it back to him. It's a technique we use, but I'm not going to get into that. We can talk about that later. So, see, I love this stuff, man.
Yeah. Hey, the passion is good, my friend. The passion's good.
So,
It's definitely an art, like you say, and I think it's the type of thing where companies, once they reach a certain size, handling the phone is maybe something that gets delegated, proposals, estimates, that kind of thing. And then you start, you're looking at everything from a kind of a financial standpoint. You're looking at your balance sheets and your numbers and your operations and logistics, every moving part of your business. But right there in the trenches, you're paying to acquire leads and trying to generate business. If you don't have this right, you just got these big gaping holes and you can just be missing tons of opportunities. So to do this kind of role playing internally, they're great exercises. And I like that, if there's a kind of a fear internally, or it's a challenge, there's problematics around phone handling and, overcoming objections, talking about price, the idea of the STFU, huge. People don't know when to stop talking. Even when they get a yes from a customer, sometimes they'll still continue talking,
Going past yes. Drives
Yeah.
me crazy.
It's nuts.
Well,
That's cool.
As you're touching on that, that's the confidence that comes from practice is huge. And when you have the word tracks and you know what to say, then the fear of being so, believe this, probably hard to believe as you hear me talking passionately about this stuff. I used to be scared to get on the phone. I used to be scared to get in front and talk to people if I didn't know you. And it took me a while to figure out what that was. I didn't know what to say. And once I learned how to deal with the objections, my confidence went out the roof. So now when someone calls me, I'm excited. And within that too, we've worked our asses off to get these leads. We spent thousands of dollars. We put endless amounts of time to get it. So when they call you, you should be excited versus, oh, wow, I don't want to get on the phone. And when you get back in the corner, now I love it. In like the advanced, we call it getting in the ring. And it's basically stump the master, where guys come in and they throw objections at me. And I love it. Like, please back me in the corner, put me on the ropes. Let's see where we're at. And how can I fight my way out of the corner? Because that can happen with certain personality types. We won't get into this at all, but the disc profile, I'm sure you're familiar with the disc profile.
Mm-hmm.
You can hear that on the phone. You can tell if they're a high D, a C, an S. I's are easy. S's are a little tough, but you can tell when it's a D. So now when I talk to you on the phone, I'm sizing you up going, all right, if he's a D, all right, we just got to move. We got to go to money fast. This dude, he's not a C. He's not gathering information right now. And that's another word track, but I'll stop there. Let me go back to the one thing, truly how to get a customer's budget every single time, because using bracketing doesn't always get it with the type of prospect that says we don't have a budget or we don't know, because you can run into that. They can just clam up on you and say nothing. Or if they do say, I don't recommend this, but you can use it. It's higher level stuff. It doesn't sound like it's going to be higher level stuff, but asking a customer what their budget is, you got to be very careful. It's all about how you handle that and how you do it, because it's okay to do it if you do it correctly. Sometimes they'll just completely shut you off. So let's just say I got in that position and I'm not really sure where they're going. And I say, hey, have you set aside any money for this project? Have you earmarked any money? I mean, like, where are you guys trying to land? So I'm not just saying, what do you want to spend on the project or what's your budget? So if I were to say, well, what's your budget? And they say, we don't have one. I go, yes. And they're like, what do you mean? I was like, well, this is perfect. You don't have a budget. We can do all kinds of amazing things. I've been waiting for you. You're like my dream client. And I'm having fun with them. They're like, what are you talking about? No. We don't have a budget set aside. And we don't know what we want to spend. Oh, okay. Well, what if it's $100,000? The 6 count, the pause. No, we're not spending $100,000. And this is what I call the step down. So $90,000? The pause again. No, we're not spending 90 grand. Well, then it must be like 70, right? You lost your mind. We're not spending 70. I mean, where are we at? Like 60, 50? What are we doing here? No, we're not doing any of that. I mean, is it 30? No, Derek, we're not going to spend anything over $5 grand. They will, when you're going through this and you're having fun, they will tell you what they're going to spend. Now, it's not going to be all that they're going to spend, but they're going to give you try it. They will tell you what their budget is. And if you can't get their budget, remember, go back to that, share your minimum with them, understand what their project is, and use that term, projects we've done in the past have landed somewhere around here, pause, because I had a 10-minute conversation with a young man. He told me he was 23 while we were on the phone. I could tell he was young. You could tell by the voice. But I'm asking questions. We're going through. I asked him if he'd ever done a project like this. He's like, no, not at all. I'm 23. So that's how he gave up his, 23 landscape done. I'm not going to mind read because we should never mind read.
No, nope, exactly. You never know.
He could be some, YouTuber that has all kinds of money. Who knows? So I'm listening, and we dig in a little bit more. We dig for pain. I'm listening for pain indicators, which is actually a Sandler technique, the Sandler sales process, the pain indicators, listening for those. And he said he just didn't want to do it. Like, I don't want to do it. Like, okay, well, is it okay? And that's my lead in. Is it okay if we talk about money? Sure. It's like, well, and I went with the minimum on him. I didn't go high because I'm just, I'm mind reading, but I'm not mind reading. I say my minimum for a front landscape is going to land right about $5,000. And he went, okay. And that one always fascinates me. What is that? Is that okay yes or okay no? So that's
it's where, okay, tell me more, and I'm not going to tell you any more info than that.
So this is where you use mirroring, and you go, in the collective voice, you go, okay. And he said, I've got $600 to spend on this. Like, I had no clue that it would cost like $500. I thought, or $5,000. I thought it might be like $1,000. And I was like, it's okay, dude. No big deal. What you can do, because I have a garden center, you can come to our garden center for, $600 to $1,000. You can get a lot of plants, man. You can do a beautiful landscape. Just get out there, and it's not that big a deal to just remove what you got there and dig it out and dispose of it, is it? And just having a little fun with him. He's like, no, I'm not doing that. Like, he actually apologized to me. He's like, I'm sorry. I feel like I've wasted your time. It's like, hey, you've been on the phone for like 10 minutes. You have not wasted my time at all. Thank you for calling. I appreciate it. And the reason he found us was he came in and bought a Christmas tree. We do Christmas trees at our garden center. And what I found is I have so many people that come into our garden center that don't necessarily hire us for our outdoor services, whether it's construction, landscape, water features. They're still a potential client. He's also a possible influencer for me. He's someone that's going to share a good word. So we have to be careful as contractors when we're on the phone with people. We want them to sell for us, even if they don't buy from us. And it's important because he's going to be an advocate of mine because I shared numbers with him. I protected his time. I educated him. So he's going to tell people about that stuff. He's not going to talk negatively about me. He's actually going to share what things cost with someone that might potentially hire me later.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
I love it.
That's the one. I have several other sales techniques as far as money, but that's really those are the ones. That's the go-tos. But if nothing else, remember this, guys, the biggest takeaway, just talk about your minimum to see where they're at. Because you don't want to have that $2,000 thing and they have a $200 budget, or that $10,000 thing and they only have a $1,000 budget. Because you have to remember, this is where you have to be empathetic to the person on the other end of the phone. They may not know anything about this. This may be their first interaction with the contractor. This may be the first home that they've owned. This may be the first time that they're not hanging out with their family and venturing out and going into the contracting world and asking for help. So think about those people. Be empathetic. Put yourself in their shoes and go, they may not know anything about this. How can I help them? How can I serve them? Because most people want to get 3 estimates, right? Why do they want to get 3 estimates? Because that's how they were taught. Their uncles, their aunts, their cousins, their moms, their grandfathers, everybody, they've heard it from a kid. Get multiple estimates. But they don't even know what they're doing getting multiple estimates. When they receive the multiple estimates, what do? Do they go home and do they put them all over their desk, and do they pour a cup of coffee and like comb over everything and highlight stuff? Like, what do people do with 3 estimates? It still boggles my mind. And sometimes people say, I'm getting 6 estimates. It's like, oh God, what do you do with all those?
Yeah. I think one thing, Derek, that comes to mind when just listening to you talk about that story about the 23-year-old and, when you introduce $5,000 or $4,500 as your starting price, I think a lot of people don't truly understand, the different trades out there and what actually goes into it. And I think that when you shed some light into the process and, the systems and the resources, the logistics and all that kind of stuff, when you get somebody up to speed on what really goes into it, they understand the value behind it. To just dance around price all the time, understanding the person who's in front of you. There are some people that, regardless of how much value you try to, bolt into your offering and whatever it is you do, they're looking for a price. Those are the sticker shoppers, right? So you can identify those, and okay, this guy here is a price shopper. He's going for the. We had a customer once called them low bid Larrys, right? So the low bid Larrys, they're just looking for the lowest bidder. But sometimes people, they're talking numbers, but they just don't know what goes into it. So they don't even know how to compare. They'll have those 3 quotes, like you say, but how do they choose, right? Is it based on materials? Is it based on, like you said, the fact that they like your face or your experiences? All these different variables that come into play here. So that's something to kind of keep in mind there. Derek, if I can ask a favor of you before we wrap up the session here, because we brought up the fact that you got a great video on your website, and again, we're all about action on here. We want people to not only listen to these lessons but put them into practice. Are you open to heading over to your website quick so we can play that video?
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Let's do it. Okay, perfect. All right, so we're on Derek's website right now. He's got this right on his homepage. Let's watch and listen.
Hey, it's Derek, JVS Secret Gardens. Have you ever wondered what's entailed when having a pond installed or landscape, or just general renovation and just, fixed up? Well, we have a 4-step process we like to follow. Step 1, I just want to grab a phone call with you. I want to understand exactly what expectations are going to be for you when you're working with a contractor. We're going to have a candid conversation on what things cost and what timelines and scheduling looks like. And then step 2, I would really like for you to send me a picture. I want to see what you see. It helps me with that creative aspect. It helps me understand what's going on. And then step 3, we're going to talk about the on-site consultation. I come and see you, and we detail everything out, and we make sure everyone's on the same page. And then step 4, you get to meet the team. I'm going to have the whole team come out. We're going to do a pre-job walkthrough so that we are all on the same page, exactly meeting your expectations. And we're all done. You're going to be happy, and we've created paradise in your space. Thanks.
Awesome, Derek. Thanks for sharing that. Really appreciate it. So, for everyone who is watching, like Derek mentioned earlier on, you're able to get a feel for who's running this company, the face behind the company. You can connect, you can relate, that you have context. There's a pond. What Derek specializes in is right there in the video. So you get proof of what he can do, the scale and scope and type of projects, that kind of thing. It's really interesting. And then he's also letting you know that his time is very valuable and that there's a process that he's going to follow and he's going to respect. So that's absolutely fantastic. It's not overly produced as well. I think people have tendency to shy away from doing things like this because they think that it can be thousands and thousands of dollars, get a video crew and production team. I mean, Derek, did you spend a lot of money and time on that video?
That cost me $300.
There you go.
I took my iPhone, put on a tripod, and it took me a minute to get some takes together. But so just really quickly, video is so huge. I highly recommend doing video. Just create like a little storyboard. Just kind of create a little scene in your mind. Kind of do a little prep, and it'll save on the editing tremendously. Just kind of a little bit of preparedness. So it took me probably honestly took about 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
I had to do a couple of takes and just kind of go through it and kind of just get my snap. But that's one other thing. Knowing your process, it helped me flow through that because I've said those things thousands of times.
Right.
So it's and to get to this point, and it's not to be discouraged. It's because some people in our group are like, dude, I will never reach your level. It's like, man, I've been doing this like for 4 years. Like I'm so curious about the sales process and I'm curious about psychology. I've like obsessed over it. So how have I gotten to this point? I've like put countless hours into it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We can see that. You got a great business on your hands. I know that you're putting a lot of value out there into the world. You're helping a lot of people with their businesses. We'll put the notes up in the academy, ways people get in contact with you, and keep doing what you're doing. Thanks for all the great takeaways. Lots of great action items in here. I hope people put this into practice. Thanks for your lesson in the academy.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Cheers.